Hi, thanks for tuning in to my channel. Um, there's a few things I want to say in this one. So before I get into the main subject, which is Labour's next leader, I actually had a slot this morning on the Nick Ferrari show on LBC. I had a slot the night before on the Matt Stadlin show. I had to wait for a good 40 minutes, but this time round it was surprisingly quick. Given that Nick Ferrari is one of the top watched or top listened to LBC people. Anyway, it was precisely on the topic of the media influence in this election. So I got my call in just after I uploaded that video, and Nick listened to my points about pretty much what I said in the video. I did bring up the issue of doorstepping, and he actually admitted that he'd sent people on doorstepping, and we had a little amicable debate on that. So I hope I didn't waffle on too much. If you listen to LBC, you may hear me there occasionally. Nathan from Sunderland is becoming, I guess, known to the LBC staff because they always know it's me when I ring in. Anyway, there's a few things that I want to mention. I've just read a report that Baroness Tong has blamed Labour's defeat on Israel. 90 peers have demanded an apology for that. Cross-party peers. Now that's just ridiculous, and it just shows where the mindset of certain Labour people are. They would think that the Israel is so powerful that it can alter the results of a British general election. It's just absurd, really, and I think it insinuates that millions of people who voted for Johnson do so because of positions that the Israeli government has. That's crazy. But it shows how out of touch certain Labour people are. Lily Allen. Lily Allen claims that Boris Johnson's victory is down to deep-seated racism and misogyny in Britain. Now, I guarantee someone like Lily Allen would have nothing to say about the deep-seated misogyny and racism, for that matter, if we look at it from a sectarian point of view within Islamist circles. She is a nauseating, regressive leftist of the worst kind, a sort of entitled celebrity that really, really puts a lot of traditional Labour voters off. In a democracy, she's entitled to her views, but I'd like to see her quantify where this deep-seated misogyny comes from regarding Boris Johnson. He may be a liar, but deep-seated misogyny? What's her basis for that? Um, Racism, yeah, there is racism in Britain. I'm not going to pretend there isn't, but the idea that Johnson's victory was due to deep-seated racism, again, that's a very contentious claim. This is a prime minister who has a British Muslim chancellor, a British Indian home secretary, and a Jewish foreign secretary. It's one of the most diverse cabinets ever. So, there's a lot of charges that can be made against Johnson. Um, I have plenty of critique of Johnson. I think he can be quite a slippery character. I think sometimes he relies on his kind of eccentricities, but I really think racism and misogyny are two charges that can't be thrown at him. I mean, actually, if you look at Johnson's voting record, he's actually pretty socially liberal on a lot of things. Anyway, that's Lily Allen. Who cares what Allen has to say? What I want to talk about is I want to talk about the next Labour leader, but also specifically about a feud that's just broken out between Caroline Flint and Emily Thornberry, both senior women in the Labour Party. Emily Thornberry, of course, is Shadow Foreign Secretary, and Caroline Flint was a minister in the Brown government and had shadow positions in the Miliband cabinet. Um, what's interesting about this interview, she was on Sophie Rachel on Sky News, is that not so long ago, Caroline Flint would have been the sort of Labour centrist whom a lot of traditional Labour people would have kind of not had anything in touch with. And yet she's actually now the voice of reason, the voice of dissent, because she has pretty much been bluntly honest about why Labour lost this. If you look at the interview, although she's now involved in a war of words with Emily Thornberry because she claimed that Emily Thornberry called her voters stupid. Caroline Flint lost her seat. Emily Thornberry retained her seat. Caroline Flint represented Don Valley in South Yorkshire, and Emily Thornberry represented Islington South and Finsbury, which is the constituency next to Corbyn's. Two very different constituencies. One is traditional Labour heartland, industrial. The other is cosmopolitan North London, but it has its fair share of poverty. Um, Now, it has to be said, Nick Ferrari stressed this, that Emily Thornberry is robustly denying that. Apparently, she might even be threatening legal action against Caroline Flint. So Flint has said that without basis. That's reckless. However, a lot of people were praising Caroline Flint in the comment section, saying that she is one Labour MP who's being honest about this. She also touched on the future of Labour and Labour leadership, and this is what I want to come to. 6 minutes in, excuse me, if you've listened to me this long. Right, so there is a lot of talk about the next leader of the Labour Party being a woman. Sunderland City Council, the leader, said although he'd always favoured meritocracy, he was in favour of a woman leader, and a lot of people are now saying that. It's not surprising that Labour is pitching for that because they've never had a woman leader. Harriet Harman's obviously been interim leader. Margaret Beckett was briefly interim leader, but they've never had a de facto woman leader in over 100 years of existence. So one can understand why they are pushing that. But here's the thing. I'm going to look a little bit at the candidates in a second, but potential candidates. What Labour women don't get, and this is an attitude I see with a lot of Labour women, is this idea. It's kind of this sort of feminism of vote for me because I'm a woman. That was Harriet Harman's pitch to become Speaker of the House of Commons. Labour feminists have always done this. It's always about vote for me because I'm a woman or because I'm a woman. That's always a caveat. Not because I'm the best candidate, not because I'm an experienced politician. And many of them are. I mean, Harriet Harman, whatever you think of her, she is a very experienced politician. But the problem with this sort of mindset is it's pretty shallow, but also it's polarizing to male voters. Male voters don't want to hear constant lectures about the patriarchy. That's just the truth. And too many Labour feminists are obsessed by this. I am not saying that there's anything wrong with women MPs campaigning on women's issues, but I think the reason that Thatcher and May got to number 10 is precisely because they weren't really outspoken feminists. Okay, maybe May more so than Thatcher, but May not as much as Labour feminists. And the Tories, of course, had the first woman MP, Nancy Astor. So, to simply put down to sexism and the patriarchy is a bit of a cop out. I think there is a perception that Tory women get far because of meritocracy. Labour women kind of have a victimhood mentality. I'm not saying that's the general situation, but Labour women are utterly obsessed by the feminist narrative. It's because I'm a woman. And I find that sort of third wave feminism very polarizing as a male voter because it's men are tired of being kind of lectured. We're tired of male shaming. Um, I think there are many capable women within the Labour Party that could be leader actually, but that is because they're capable politicians, not because they're women. And when you get these feminist attitudes on the left, it isn't just within Labour, like Caroline Lucas calling for a women only cabinet. That sort of divisive nonsense is, well, firstly, it's sexist and it needs to be called out for what it is, because no man would get away with that. But secondly, it it doesn't prove anything. I mean, her argument was have a women only cabinet because women get things done. Now, that is a sexist insinuation that men don't. So I find it very polarizing. If the next Labour leader is a woman, I want her to focus on policy areas that are general policy areas: crime, health, education. And okay, I'm not saying that women's issues should be ignored. I would argue they haven't been ignored. They've got far more attention than issues that disproportionately impact men. But It's an obsession with Labour feminists, an absolute obsession. Caroline Flint hasn't been above it herself, but let's look at some of the candidates here that they're naming as potential successors. And frankly, it isn't very inspiring. Sir Keir Starmer is one of them, and Caroline Flint mentioned he's a solid Remainer, so that could be his big Achilles heel. He also lacks charisma. Jess Phillips. Okay, Jess Phillips is no Corbynite. She's more to the centre, and I give her credit for not being shy of criticising Islamism. I do give her credit for that. Jess Phillips, unfortunately, is a personification of a male shaming feminist. Her rationale, she appeared with Jacob Rees-Mogg, of all people, on a documentary on Channel 4 about their different outlooks on life because you couldn't find two more different MPs. And she basically said she would stab Corbyn in the front, not the back, and it's disgraceful that Labour had a white man as leader. Now, attack Corbyn for his policies, but being a white man, um, I think she comes across as pretty smug and arrogant sometimes. Just her mannerisms, just her demeanour, I find it rather off-putting. I think she needs a serious PR overhaul. She famously was seen smirking during a committee on men's rights, in which issues like male suicide were discussed. Now, she's denied that, but the video was out there, and it doesn't look good. Angela Rayner, Shadow Education Secretary, has been a loyal supporter of Jeremy Corbyn. I'm reading this from ITV. After leaving school at 16 with no qualifications, she was told she would never amount to anything, but then she defied that to become the first woman in 180 years of her Ashton underlying constituency. Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of firsts for women. I have to be honest, I don't know a great deal about Angela Rayner. And I wouldn't hold it against her leaving school. I mean, John Major and Jim Callaghan never went to university, so wouldn't necessarily that rules her out. I need to look closer at her record. Lisa Nandy, again, don't know a great deal about her. Even from her victory speech at the general election, the Wigan MP appears to have her eyes on the leadership prize. She has been labelled a soft left Labour MP, but could be a compromise for many. If she's centre left, she may be someone to watch. Emily Thornberry. I've always found Thornberry a little bit smug. I don't get a good vibe from her. And obviously, she's in Corbyn's inner circle. She was Shadow Foreign Secretary. She's passionate pro-Remain. That also ruled her out of the Labour heartlands. Um, and it was previously reported that Unite General Secretary Len McCluskey would back her in a leadership race. She's a big name, but she's in Corbyn's inner circle. Rebecca Long Bailey, the Shadow Business Secretary and Salford MP, is a former postwoman and a socialist. But if Corbynism is failed for Labour's failure, then she may fail to get backing as someone who stood by him through his campaign. Again, that's just ridiculous. Rebecca Long Bailey is a Corbynite. The fact that she's a young woman, without a beard, she is a Corbynite. And this again reiterates the situation. It's not about the demographic of the leader, so whether they're a 70-year-old white man or a 40-year-old young woman, if you're espousing those hard left policies, it's going to be the same problem, which is something I don't think Labour understands. Yvette Cooper, the Shadow Business Secretary and Salford MP, is a former postwoman. Oh, excuse me, a new Labour veteran who served in Gordon Brown's cabinet. She came third in the leadership election, which saw Corbyn take control of the party. She attempted to oust him in 2016 but failed. Could it now be her time? I'd look at Yvette Cooper. She strikes me as a centrist figure, quite capable. I get a relatively good vibe from Yvette Cooper. She was in Miliband's shadow cabinet. I need to look closer at her credentials, but of those names, Yvette Cooper, possibly Lisa Nandy stand out. I don't know enough about Angela Rayner, Rebecca Long Bailey, Corbynite, Emily Thornberry in Corbyn's inner circle, and Jess Phillips, just a rather obnoxious outspoken feminist. It is going to be polarizing for male voters. Whichever of these women get the position, and I think it probably will be a woman, she needs to pitch to the wider public. She can't just pitch herself as Labour's first woman, and I'm a I'm an outspoken feminist. She has to show that she's not going to polarize male voters like me, because I would vote for a centrist Labour woman if it wasn't for patronizing, male shaming. I'm not saying they can't talk about issues that impact women, but when it is the sort of frankly blowhard feminism that the likes of Jess Phillips comes out with. Also, there is an image issue with people like Jess Phillips because they just come across as rather smug. I think she needs a big PR overhaul. She does not look prime ministerial at all. I give her credit for example, in the Birmingham school drive, she's a Birmingham MP. She vocally got into debates with the Islamists protesting outside the school. I give her credit for that. She has also been one of the few Labour MPs to be outspoken on grooming gangs. I give her credit for that. Unfortunately, she is a pretty outspoken feminist. That is polarising the male voters. So I implore these Labour women, please, please, don't polarise male voters. Because guys like me are not against women's rights. We just don't like the constant lecturing of the patriarchy. Men's issues also need addressed, and I'll close with that.